Hello, how are you doing today? This has been a really nice day. One day at a time, it seems like that's what's happening anymore for me anyway. It's like I'm learning how to be in the moment or be in the day and not really think ahead because it's so hard to plan. And I'm sure that a lot of you have been experiencing that as well. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about some of the stuff because we're not really in a normal way that we've been living for years and years. Instead, there's a lot of things going on. Some of it has some really good things about it that's moving in a good direction. And there's a lot of bumps in the road, and some of it is going in a direction that could be pretty tumultuous if we continue down that way. And you know, the whole thing is that all of this stuff, all of this creating our future, has to do with each one of us individually. I know that's a hard thing to maybe come to grips with or wrap your head around, but that's really and truly what a lot of this is about. At least that's what I'm being shown. I've been shown that a long time actually, and I've just putting the pieces together. So I just want to share with you a little bit about what I see and what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing in clients and other people around. So what I am noticing is that there's some people that they've gone down a spiral so far into the fear factor that they can't even listen to anything reasonable. They're reasonable people, they're nice people, but it's like they're triggered by some kind of a program, or it's like they hear certain words and they just fly off the handle. These people are rather mean when they get in that mode, and they're unbelievably impossible, as many of you probably know, to talk to, because they will not come into a conversation about a situation, which is very important that we talk about. In anything, this can be in anything, so it's not just one particular thing. This is just a trigger response. A response that's triggered is usually going to mean that that person is riddled in fear or in anger or in willful ignorance. Because I'm finding that people who are more willfully ignorant than those who are thirsty to learn and find out history and future and how things work are just different people completely. The people that trigger a lot, what I'm seeing is that number one is they are in fear. They're probably not feeling good about themselves in a lot of ways because they're not knowing what's going on, and they are scared, genuinely in fear. It may be hidden in a lot of different things. That will then produce a lot of blame. Then they start pointing their finger and blaming everybody else for everything because they're standing in a space then of denial. And then there's the other group who just wants to talk and share, and they're looking and other people are looking, and they're all getting together and they're very excited about what they're learning and growing. And so they're having conversations that are light and serious and funny sometimes, and it's just a better vibration to be in. So looking at this from a vibrational level is that the vibration of fear is probably the lowest vibration that anybody can wallow in. It's a very low vibration. And I'm saying that because of what I'm seeing from people who are in fear. They're in a trigger mode, they're in a fight or flight mode, they're not thinking, they're not being rational, they're not being reasonable, and in a lot of ways they're not even acting like human beings in some regard. They get kind of really out of control. And then when we talk about the other side of that coin, which most people affix love to, which love, from some of the studies I've been doing more recently, doesn't exist below the heart chakra. That's not considered the kind of love. We don't have enough words out there for that. But the real, true, high essence love vibration where everything is just perfect, no matter even if it's imperfect, it's just perfect. And we can look to the future instead of being spiraled into this downward kind of low vibratory fear. So if love is only from the heart up, we're going to have to work on ourselves from the heart up, and we're going to have to open new doors of things that we're not accustomed to maybe feeling or seeing or understanding. Because everything from the heart down is more in our animalistic state, our fear state, our grounding state, and that is very important too. But let's get a distinction and a discernment about the two, because we need to learn how to discern, and we need to discern in order to learn. So we need to learn how to discern and discern how to learn. That's really a nice little thing to rest into. So how do we start all that? How do we move out of a fear state into another state? Well, the first thing is to start to listen. And I did a thing a while ago about listening. You have to start to listen. And you have to start to listen by taking things in and then noticing where the trigger points are. And as soon as you find a trigger point and you want to blurt out something, that's where you have to start changing that particular pattern. Because when you can get to where anybody can say anything to you and you're not taking offense to it, not taking it personal, then you're rising above all that, and then you can have a conversation that will actually move us forward into a future, rather than keeping us spinning into this cycle of downward falling, becoming more ignorant as we go, believing in things even when they're lies and even when they're blatantly not true. We won't be able to see it. So there's a distinction there. So how do we raise our vibrations to get up there a little bit higher so that we can see things and get out of the taking things personally, and where we can stand in our power and our understanding and become people that are creating for the future to come and the kind of world we want to be living in? Because we're at that threshold right now. We have that opportunity. We can step over the threshold, or we can choose to cling on to the past and go through the kind of history that we've seen for centuries, which has been a lot of conflict. So we're at that fork in the road. We just are. So how do we get ourselves to be a little bit more growing, get ourselves into a better growing pattern here than a dying pattern? We need to start to pay attention to our body. That's one of the reasons I want to start to show you some of the work that I've done physically over the years, because I want to get down to the detail of the body, so you begin to explore just the mechanism, this massive miracle of a body that you're in, and how easy it is to be controlled or damaged or hurt, and yet how much power there is from the more spiritual and the more energetic aspects of who we are as human beings. So we want to start to get to know ourselves, know who we are. We want to start to begin to find what our purpose is here. What contribution do we have toward humanity? What are we going to do toward humanity? What do we love to do that we could do and just do because we see a vision with it coming forward, that we're going to put something and benefit a lot of people in the world? And it doesn't have to be massive and huge. It can be really small. It can be just, helping somebody with a door, just any of those random acts of kindness to do that. But that's a start where we start to move into a higher vibration that way. And that takes practice, because when you're used to being in a low vibration, it's real easy to get mean and grumpy about everything and never see that the glass is half full. It's always half empty. Then the other thing we need to start to do and consider is what we're eating and how we're eating, and if it's just comfort food. If it's just comfort food, come to the realization of, what is that comforting? What is it that I'm comforting? Because then we can start to get to know who we are. And there's a long process to it, and I want to share a lot of this. There's also a lot of other things energetically that I want to share with you. And I'm going to be putting together through the exercise things, I'm going to be showing you some really incredible things of the subtleties of the body, and get to appreciate the subtleties of the body, because then you can appreciate the excellence and the beauty that humanity really is. I really don't think humanity is here to be violent and argumentative with one another. I think that's been something that has been programmed into us, and that it's time for us to take power over that and to begin to discern who's putting that there, who's influencing that, who's swaying us in that direction. Because really and truly, being in the space that we're in, I really do not think we're ever going to go back to the old normal. I think we're going to be moving into a new normal, and I don't think it's going to be one that's going to be horrible for humanity in general. I think it's going to teach us lessons, and I think we're going to grow through it. But I think it's going to be a time when we're going to be working together with one another at a much higher level than we have ever even thought of. I think it's going to be really, really nice. But before we can get there, the people who are wallowing in this meanness and this confusion and this idea that you have to hold on to different structures that you won't even examine, you have to move yourself out of that in order to come up to where we can have discussions about where do we really want to go? What do we want to create? What do we want to do? Who am I? I'm better than what I'm being told I am. You have the power within you, so I want to see you utilize it. If I can be a guide for you along the way, I'm happy to do that. But all in all, it's got to be you that does the work, you that does the inner work, you that clears out these triggers and these emotions. And then we can step into a really fun place and a fun time. So thank you so much for listening to all of this, and I hope you got something out of it. Please check out the website, and thank you for coming to the channel. Please like, please share, and please leave a comment if you have anything to say. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And I think there's a little bell up there that you can hit that you'll get a notification every time we post. So if you want to, you can hit that too. But thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.